Community Beacon, Fridays at 6:30 EST, with your hosts Michaeldseville and Joel Simmons. A channel whose focus is liberty. A place where the lessons discussed and taught will create openings to a more open and freer mindset. A mindset where you may reach the height of your potential and excel. Here are your hosts, Mike and Joel.
It's good to be back at it. It's good to be back at it. What is going on, brother?
What's going on? What's going on, man? It's good to see you. Good to hear your voice. Oh, man, we've been having a good time just talking with each other lately. I've enjoyed every conversation.
It resonates. I'm glad we get a chance to get on live and get it done there. I promise, when we first came up with the show, shouts out to everybody. Guys, this is Community Beacon. We appreciate you all for checking in. Let me put up this banner real quick. I know, okay, like, subscribe, share, notify. We're really just going to jump right into the show, if you all don't mind. We're going to jump into the show. You already know where you can find us. It will be in the show notes. I'll make sure that you can check out some other places you can find us. But I really just want to jump into the show. If you can tell, as you can tell, it's Christmas time. You see the Christmas tree in the back. The brother is on tropical time. You see the tropical weather in the back of his room. If you can actually see that little slice of heaven right there on earth. But we definitely appreciate you all for checking in. All right, let's get into it. Brother, I saw the title, and I actually jumped into the wrong room. I actually created a room because I was like, oh, maybe he had already created it. And it said, if I could do it all over again. It's an interesting title. I'm excited to hear where you're going to take from it. I already had my mind already started racing into some thoughts about it, but I'd love to hear your perspective on if I could do it all over again.
Yeah, man.
Let's hear it.
Yeah. I mean, listen, just to be honest with everybody out there, it wasn't like there was a whole lot of thought into it. It was just, man, I was creating this room and I just started to think, if I could do it all over again. And it just came to me, just hit me like that. Because, I mean, where do you start with that? I mean, what does that mean? Am I talking about if I had to go all the way back to my school days? Am I talking about at the beginning of my business? Am I talking about at the beginning of my career? Am I talking about at the beginning of my marriage? If I could do it all over again, what would that be?
I'd like to hear a little bit about that.
Which part?
The relations, the context of relationship, your marriage specifically. I'm curious.
Man.
That definitely piques my interest.
Okay. And I think that's interesting. I think because I feel like you're in that place, right? You're in that place. You gravitate to that. I've noticed that you gravitate to the relationship conversations, like I gravitate to the business conversations, and
I'm with the expert. So it's like, I'm gonna be honest. I get on this to get free consultations and mentoring in regards to relationship. If I'm gonna be on here with an expert or something, I already know what I know. So to be honest with you, I'm being selfish in the conversation because if I'm in a room with Warren Buffett, I don't want to talk about swimming. If I'm in a room with Warren Buffett, I don't want to talk about, I don't know, basketball. I don't want to talk about it. I want to talk about how he created his mindset, how he created his company, his patience. I want to hear about patience. I want to hear about time. I want to hear about him reading those reports, exactly what he's looking for, what he's getting out of reading those old company reports. That's what I want to hear. So if I'm in a room with you, and I know at least it's a couple things, because I'm always asking you questions. So if it's spiritual in nature, and we talking about really, because if people know me, I'm not really talking about the Bible or spiritual things with a lot of people, because 9 times out of 10, I know more than them. But when I'm like, I need to ask a question and get down and dirty in regards to it, I'm going to you because I'm just like, this brother's going to break it down for me. And then relationships, that's another part of it. Empathy, like there's a whole thing. Anyway, so to be honest, I'm being totally selfish in nature, and by me being selfish and centered, it'll help some other people out as well, because hopefully you all can glean off of this stuff. But I know that's what I'm doing. So when you say that, that's exactly it. I'm being selfish. I'm in the room with an expert, and I want to hear it. And I kind of just he'll be back, and I kind of just want to shut up and just listen and ask questions. So in case anybody was wondering,
Yes, sir. Well, I appreciate that. So, and I feel like it's the roles are reversed on the opposite end, because I feel like you are the business mogul, you are the business expert. So I definitely enjoy having that type of conversation. So it flows.
Yeah.
It's always good to be with somebody, and not to say that that I'm a few steps ahead of anyone else, but when I come to you, I know that you're a few steps ahead of me when it comes down to these business things. And sometimes it's as simple as just the challenge of the mind, just making a decision. But that can be something big, huh? Yeah, just making a decision. Yeah. So and then listen. So rightly being said, segue right into the relationship aspect of it. Sometimes it's as simple as just making a decision. It really is that simple. We make it more than that. We make it more. All right. So I'm gonna give you a case in point right now. This is currently happening. Happening in the Simmons residence. Within the last 24 hours. So we're taking this trip. I want to make sure that my wife she understands the benefits of me being in the business that I'm in. And so a lot of this trip is all about her. It's about her experience, what she gets, how she feels, everything, because I'm out here, I'm in the middle of a transition. I didn't hit my complete transition point, and my complete transition point is when I can absolutely, off my entrepreneurial standpoints, surpass my the financial standpoints and benefits of what my current work predisposition is. So that's what I'm doing.
A lot of big words.
Okay, so basically, I just need to make more money than I get paid per hour, and the benefits that I get, by working for someone else. We're talking about medical. We're talking about 401ks, retirement, dental, vision, and then just the basic dollars that I get paid per hour per week. So I'm telling it's the whole thing. A lot of times people they don't think like that. They just like, oh, I make $15 an hour, so if I can just get 500. No, it's not that. No, I got a lot of other stuff that's wrapped up inside of my work. So I need to be able to surpass it.
People, when you become an entrepreneur, or you're saying you're having a business, there's a huge difference between gross and net. There could be a huge difference between gross and net, and then everything that you just took into consideration, we oftentimes don't. And so there's been times when I just tell people, like, listen, just go get you a job with some benefits, man. Because you just because you're creating something that is going to put a lot of pressure on yourself.
Strain.
Yeah, you put a lot of strain on yourself. So go ahead, brother. I just wanted to interject that.
No, I mean, but that's exactly what it is. And I feel like, my wife deserves to have it all. Listen, I'm not a cookie cutter husband. You know what I mean? I am a challenge. I have my own thoughts, and I have my own goals, and
do you voice them? And you voice them.
and I voice them as
Yeah.
empathetic as I am and compassionate as
Yeah.
I am. I am also a stickler for what I believe, and so
Hmm.
it can be quite difficult to deal with somebody who is passive. It's one thing to deal with somebody who is non-passive. I'm not going to say aggressive. So, Mike, if you got a better word, then use it. I'm not going to say someone that's aggressive because I don't want to characterize an
Assertive.
individual who is assertive and direct, right? So I am direct, indirect, passive. That's who I am.
Okay.
So it's much, or I should say, indirect, direct, passive. So it's much more difficult to deal with someone like me because my first option is always indirectly to influence, and so that takes time, and people have to understand what I'm saying, which takes more time because I'm so indirect, because I'm empathetic. And then I become direct, which is second stage or second phase of my conversation. And at the point in time of direct, then the people they've already heard what I'm talking about. So they've already formulated some type of general thought process behind whatever it is, even if they haven't thought about it specifically and said, oh, he's talking about but they're going to say, oh, now I get it, whatever it was. So at that point in time, it creates some challenges as well. And then I'm passive, to boot. So with that being said, if I could do it all over again, there's certain things that I couldn't do all over again because this is who I am,
Yeah.
and I'm not. Go ahead.
Man, I want to dive real quickly. No worries, brother. If as long as you can hear me, I want to dive. Not dive. I want to ask you about that. How you description of yourself, and I want and I like to hear the reverse of a couple other because you said it as because I've never heard the description before, but it's interesting. Characterize yourself as indirect, direct. So what was that? Your first thing, your first indirect. Explain that part. The part that means that you're saying it without saying it. That's the indirect part.
Yes.
What does that look like? So what does that look like? Just a simple example.
So like a simple example is, all right, my son, I'm not too fond of certain video games. So what I'll do is I'll teach him the benefits of not having the video game versus just saying, hey, get that game out of here.
Yeah.
So that's indirect versus direct. First, I'm just going to be teaching him. It's like, these are all the reasons why you don't want that video game. Now make a decision. That's indirect. It places all of the power on himself. So he has to make his own choice. So I do that frequently. I mean, that's how I speak. At one point in time, I was speaking to my stepmother, and she said, Joel, everybody doesn't understand what you say. She said, because sometimes you speak in riddles. And I don't know how to take that. I can understand how that may come across. But the thing that I'm doing is that, because I'm so empathetic, it's just who I am. It's my personality type that when I lay things out, I lay it out in a way where you need to start thinking for yourself. It's like, listen, I'm not telling you what you need to do. You need to think about this. And I am hinting, I am directing, I am pointing to the direction that you should be going in. But I'm not going to tell you. You got to make that decision on your own. And if for some reason I'm wrong, I still never told you. I never told you, hey, go down that pathway. Now, when I'm direct, I'm saying, hey, go down that pathway. But on the other hand, I always leave room because here's the thing. You can be right about something and you could say it at the wrong time.
Absolutely.
100% right. What you are saying is absolutely right. If they don't do what you're saying, they're going to hurt themselves. They're going to hurt somebody else. It's going to be damage. However, it ain't the right time. And so you cause damage by pushing them into whatever that is. They're not prepared. Their mind's not prepared. They're physically not prepared. They're emotionally not prepared. They're mentally not prepared. They're spiritually not prepared. They're not ready. And
Yeah.
you may be seeing something, but it's not for them. But for it, maybe it's a week later they'll be ready, or maybe it's a year later before they'll be ready. And we're like pushing them. It's like mama bird pushing the bird out of the nest, and then the bird lands, hits the ground, and dies. She doesn't get another chance with that bird. That's it. They had not developed their wings. Are they supposed to fly? Yes. And that's what we need to consider when we're thinking about helping other people. Are they supposed to be helped? Yes. Everyone should be helped. But are they ready? Can they take flight today?
Love it. Love it. All right, let's get back into it. That was awesome explanation of it. So your wife is you're a difficult person to deal with, and so you're with the indirect direct, and now your wife is what?
So my wife is opposite. She's direct. So she'll be direct. She's direct, indirect.
Okay.
Actually, she is direct, indirect, and assertive. She's the exact opposite of me.
Okay.
So she would much rather tell me directly what she wants, desires, or believes should happen. She would prefer to indirectly tell me, some of the emotional type of concerns. She shows constraint there, so I have to figure that stuff out on my own.
Okay.
Because she's not gonna say that directly. She's gonna shun away from it. And then she's assertive. So the things that she is extremely direct about, she's gonna assert herself, and she's gonna assert her will. She's gonna assert her presence. She's gonna make sure that she is known inside of the room. All right. And I'm passive. I'm not making sure I'm known inside of the room. I'm not trying to be the life of the party. I have no desire to be the life of the party. Whenever I become the reason of the party, it's not because I pushed myself. It's because it began to happen. It began to happen. It was those steps, those things that just led up to this eventual nod from above that just kind of trickled into people. That brought me to the surface. That's kind of the way it happens. It's not because I push myself into those places and events. I generally tend to shun away from them instead. But she's the opposite. She's the exact opposite of me.
Okay. Makes sense.
Yeah. So there's always collision, because you can understand that there's going to be two different types of mindsets. Her mindset is just say it. My mindset is, and my mindset is the same, but her mindset is the things that I'm indirect about. She would prefer that maybe they not be said, or that they just be said. And, but one or the other, not
right.
Don't walk around it. Don't waltz around it. And then mine, my mindset would be, discover what it is emotionally that's going on. Let's characterize it. Let's bring it to the table. Let's discuss it. Let's not intentionally place inside the drawer the things that are going to make us better, just to discuss at another time. This is not something you indirectly work on. We need to directly work on this.
Okay.
We need to directly work on this, because if we don't, we suffer. And so where she is extremely assertive, and the point where, the life of the party, when I show up, my work is right. Everything I'm doing is right. I know how to move the crowd. I know how to do those things. You see me, it's on. And then, but there's all those things that need to be done in the background, right? So things that need to be done in the background. For instance, in the business standpoint, when I hit the stage, I move the crowd. That's my wife. I move the crowd. In the background, it's like, well, what about the finance of the program? What about this and what about that? Okay, well, those are things that we need to discuss. How does that affect us? Now if we keep it on a numbers basis, she's good. But if there's any type of emotional tie to anything, which there always is, right? There either is or there is the absence of the emotional tie, which I consider to be somewhat of an emotional tie, because you're delineating the emotional piece from it, and just by doing that, that means that there's an unconscious emotional tie to it.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So
this is similar to business, but keep on with it. The
Yeah,
context they relate, yeah.
yeah, 100%, 100%.
Yeah.
But you don't have to deal with the emotional strains inside of a business if you just run the business right. You do have to deal with the emotional strains of a relationship, because in the mind, it's built on emotions. It's built like love is built on emotions. Like, no, love is not emotions. Like, get that out of your mindset. Love is not emotions. If love was emotions, and like the scripture says, the scripture says that for God is love. God is not a ball of emotions, because if he was, then he will be killing us today, rescuing us tomorrow, killing us the next day, rescuing us the day after that. We will be destroyed. We'll be half in hell, half in heaven all the time, because that's the way people treat emotions, right? I think what was the young lady who sang that one song? I keep on falling in and out of love with you, Alicia Keys.
Yeah.
Alicia Keys. That was one of her baddest songs like 15 years ago. She hit the New York stage.
Yeah, that was a number one. This is interesting. I know we're talking about if we could do it all over again. I think, okay, and we will, because we'll jump into love at some point, because I just had some conversations with a couple of coaches in regard to that, and they sent that to me because that was something I was thinking about this morning. You're in this relationship with your wife. The topic is if I could do it all over again. So this would mean if you could, what is there things that you would have done differently with the knowledge that you have now? Or would you have allowed it to, whatever it was, just to be what it is because you needed that experience?
I love that. That's an awesome question. And I actually think I have an answer for it. I don't know if it's the one that that people might want to hear, but the answer for me is like yes and no.
Mm-hmm.
Yes and no. There's definitely some things inside of my life that have carried emotional baggage, or have added emotional baggage to my life. And so there are some items of baggage that I find myself going back to collect and to carry with me. And oftentimes I'll find myself in prayer or in meditation, to eliminate my emotional baggage. And I'll find myself eliminating emotional baggage. And then I'll find myself going back to find where I eliminated it. So that's when I realized, okay, I didn't actually eliminate it. All I did was put that baggage inside the closet. I didn't unpack it.
Repressed it, yeah.
Yeah, so I have to go back and get it, and then I'll carry it with me, and sometimes I won't even know that I'm carrying it with me. Maybe the bag has been constrained, or maybe I did go in there. Have you ever brought home baggage from a trip and not cleared the entire bag out? So if anyone's ever done that, then you understand what I'm talking about. It's like you go right back to work and you take the bag out. You're going to need a suit. You're going to need that belt. You're going to need those shoes, but you're tired. So you just take out those couple of articles and you leave the rest of it because you don't really need it right now. And the bag is sitting there waiting for you to put the rest of the stuff up. And so you unpack half of the bag and you get that stuff ready, you get it cleaned or whatever you need to do, because you're going to need to wear that somewhere. You're going to need to use it. You're going to need to use those clippers. You're going to need to use that deodorant. You're going to need to use that toothbrush. But you don't need those pants. You don't need that shirt right now. So you just leave it there because tomorrow will be here. And when you get back, you can take that stuff out. Well, that's kind of what happens when you have emotional baggage. Sometimes when you deal with it piece by piece. And so instead of dealing with the whole suitcase of your emotions, you just take out a couple of pieces that you need to fix currently. I got to fix this. I think I got it under control. So you take that toothbrush out, you throw it in the bathroom inside the cup, you're ready to go. You take that deodorant out, you throw it in there because you're going to use this stuff immediately. You're going to use the success of these emotional ties in a successful way immediately. But the other pieces, it's like, well, I got another pair of pants. I ain't got to wear them. I don't got to wear those. So you leave them there. And they've already been worn. They're dirty. And they're building. The dirt is building up inside that bag. So, by the time you get back to it, you got to wash everything. You got to freshen up your bag. Everything has changed. So that's the same way with emotions. When we don't take care of them, when we suppress them, we end up repressing them. And when they come back to us, they are actually in worse condition than they were when we left them.
A lot of NLP in that. There's a lot there. There was a lot of NLP in that, and
neurological pathways.
Neuro-linguistic programming, guys. But
neuro-linguistic programming.
Yeah, but a lot of neuroscience attached to it, and you explained it in such a clear and concise way. So, getting back to the question, what were some of the things that, you said that you gave me a yes and a no to some of the, just in regards to his relationship with your significant other, is what are some things that you would you unpack differently, I suppose, to stay with the same metaphor and analogy, like, how did you, it's the question.
That's interesting. Yeah. So Mike's asking for a deep dive.
I want to know. I heard you explain it brilliantly. I heard you explain, and I think that's awesome for a preface to this, because I think someone can take what you just said and use this in their own lives, or what's been going on in their own lives. I think they need to get with someone like yourself or a professional who can actually help them to unpack it, because we've been doing things the way we've been doing them for a while. Most people, we didn't just come up with the way that we cope yesterday. A lot of times we come up with the way that we cope when we're 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, some teenage things happen, some traumatic things happen in our lives. And then, our ego wants it to be that way. So we get into this pattern. We get very comfortable in the way that we do it. And guess what? It's not a bad thing, because it helped us to survive, right? We got this way. But when we want to get to the next level, we can then reach out and start to say, okay, I'm aware that I do have some baggage. I thought I had dealt with it, but then when I couldn't find my favorite pairs of shorts, and I had already put the bag up in the attic because I'm done with traveling, but I can't find these shorts, and I love these shorts or these pants. They're comfortable. They fit me the best. Where did they go? And we tear up the closet, and we tear up this, and we tear up that. And then we go back and we like, the next trip, we like, oh, there they were. Right. Because
and it smells.
And they dirty. Yeah. And they're dirty from the last trip that we had. So we might have to get rid of them. We got to figure out a way. But long story short, getting back to you, brother, going back, because you are a successful marriage after 20 plus years, right?
It's 25 years.
We're not seeing that happen as often, specifically in our demographics, specifically in Western culture.
And
So
and
that's
in my age.
at your age. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, can't put that to the side. So although I'm, for my own selfish reasons, like going back to the beginning of the podcast, I'm glad at every little step that you took, because now I can go to you and say, well, brother, I'm in this season. I'm in the season of this. And I can go and you can say, well, Mike, based on my experience, this may be a better pathway. You got a couple of options here, and this may be a better pathway. So I love it. So I wouldn't want you to change an iota for the world, because I appreciate everything about you. However, we all have our things like, I kind of would have handled that a little bit differently. If you were to think about it, what would you say that was?
Yeah, so I'll give you one example. One of them is and we've talked about this multiple times. As a matter of fact, I recall us having a scenario where both of us were suffering from something that was very similar. But I'll tell you the thing that comes to my mind. It was a relationship with my father. That was a heavy hitter. Oh man, was that a heavy hitter? That was a heavy hitter. And I love the way that you continue that analogy. That metaphor was beautiful, because you said you put the suitcase in the attic, and I thought that was perfect. You put it up, you put it away. That's why I added that little piece about "and it stinks," because the thing about it is like, when you finally do realize where it is, or you happen to fall in it, it happens to show up. It's at that moment that all of that pain comes rushing back, and it can be crippling at that very moment, because it's been gone for so long. You didn't even think about it. It's like, well, these shorts, I don't need no shorts. I looked for them I looked all over, couldn't find them. I bought a new pair of shorts. I moved on with my life. And now I got a trip 6 months later, and I unpack and I see those pants, and I remember Rio de Janeiro. I remember Chicago. I remember, West Palm. You got a date on it. You got a time. You got a period. You got a place. And all the emotions that were inside of that were jarred up, that were stained and imprinted into those shorts, they become fresh. And when you smell that, when you see it, when you realize it, it has the ability to change the emotional characteristics of your body physiologically. So you're actually, you start to sweat, your heart starts to get palpitations. All of these things start to happen, all because of that one memory. It's the same thing as when you're a kid and your mom used to bake cookies or something like that, and you remember the scent, and then all of a sudden you go somewhere and someone makes cookies like your mom did. And you're like, you have this rush of great memories. So for me, this one thing with my father comes to my mind, about how I went out and I found him and I brought him into my life. And then all of a sudden, he's out of my life. And then out of nowhere, after I have coped with it, after I've moved on, he comes back into my life. And, the relationship between my wife and between my kids, the relationship with him was better than mine. And it hit me like a ton of bricks. It hit me so hard, because I had, part of the way that I had dealt with it was through absolutism. I absolutely put him out of my life. It was simple, very simple. It's just like, okay, this is what I'm going to do. Number one, I'm going to forgive him. Check. Number two, I'm going to forgive myself. Check. All right. Now he's still attached to certain people in my life. I'm going to forgive them. Check. Okay. Everybody's been forgiven. I'm going to say my prayers and I'm going to let go. Check. So the thing that I learned with that is that when you let go like that, is that these things have a tendency to come back up. And when they come back up, you have to deal with them all over again. I've been thinking about something right there, Mike, when I said that, you know, yeah. So I'll keep thinking. Oh, here it is. Book of Saint James. James. Let me see. I want to read this for us. Give me 1 second. Sorry, y'all.
No, take your time, brother.
Okay, James 4 and 7. James 4 and 7. All right. So I'll read 6 first, and then I'll come into 7. But he, the King James Version, 4 and 6. But he giveth more grace, wherefore he saith, God resisteth the proud, but giveth grace unto the humble. All right. So, and this whole, listen, if y'all didn't read this, just start at the 4th chapter, the 1st verse. Let me read that so you can understand why I say that.
Well, give me. Let me see if I could. Let me see if I could put these in the
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. Just
chat.
get James 4 1 through James 4 1 through let's say 8. Go 1 through 8. James 4 1 through 8. So let me read this to y'all. From whence come wars and fightings among you? Come they not hence? When he's saying hence, just imagine the apostle James pointing to himself like this. Hence, even of your lust at war in your own members. So what he's saying is that these wars, these emotional wars, these spiritual wars, these things originate on the inside of us. They're not in other people. Like that, just get it out of your mind. Stop blaming your wife. It's not in her. She's got her own troubles she has to deal with. She's got her, people like to say their own demons. She's got the, I don't want to say demons, but she's got her own issues that she is trying to work through to be the best person she can be. And for us to think that she just doesn't want to be a good wife to us may not be true. I mean, for some of you all, maybe it is true. Maybe you just married the wrong person. That could be true. But there's a greater chance that the person who loves you. And the issues that they are going through are their own wars. And you are receiving what you are gaining, or what you are getting. What is happening is the result of the war on the inside is affecting the world on the outside of that human being. So
you packed your bag.
Yeah.
You the one that you packed the bag. Go ahead, brother.
Yeah, no, that's once again, great job on bringing that metaphor back. So just imagine this. You and your wife go somewhere, like we're in Cancun. So we go to Cancun. We pack separate bags. Now, in this case, we packed the same bag. So we ended up with the same issues. This was excellent job, Mike, because you brought us back to the thing that I wanted to talk about. We packed the exact same bag. In this case, my clothes and her clothes are in the exact same suitcase. They lost our bags. Well, the bags didn't make it here until today. They didn't make it here. So both her and I suffered the exact same thing. No underwear, no toothbrush, no deodorant. We both had to pay the same price. We had to go to the store, spend $260 to buy shirts, to buy shorts, to buy deodorant. I mean, the toothpaste was $10 for a tube of toothpaste, $9 for a toothbrush, $60 for a pair of shorts, and both her and I needed. We had to wash our underwear inside of the sink with body wash, right? So we had to do all of this stuff so that we could just, survive the third world lifestyle, right? Because there's a lot of people and I should say first world lifestyle, because there's a lot of people in third world lifestyle, they would have been just fine, because that's all they got anyway, But first world, no, I gotta smell good,
Listen, I got some laundry soap right now that you could when it all goes down, I could go outside and wash my clothes outside, and I'll be just hang them on the back of the thing just. But let's get into it. Yeah, this is amazing. You all packed the same bag. I'm almost want to talk about equally yoked, but I'm not going to take it there because then that we're going down a whole other path. However, you all were at this point. You said you all were having the same situation, not having the things that it was that you needed. Regardless, first or third world, we would love to need our toothbrush. I would hope that we all need it. This is so I want people to keep up with this because this is going back to you and your father's situation, and your wife having her situation and her situation, not necessarily your situation. The okay, go ahead, brother.
Yeah. So just like trying to tie this metaphor together, or the elongated metaphor that we've been utilizing this entire time with the suitcase, right? And so, but in this case, her and I both, all of our garments are in the same suitcase. So we suffer the same concern. We have the exact same issues, the exact same problems. We are together. I love how you say equally yoked. We are together. We have the same problems, the same goals at the same time. So that metaphor is completed.
She was a little bit happier when I saw her.
Because our suitcase was in.
Oh, good. Finally got in. Okay. But I was going to say, she seemed a little bit more happy than you were happy. She was ready to go.
No, I was absolutely happy. I got my pre-workout. I got my post-workout. I'm ready to go to the gym,
Yeah.
And she's ready to go to the water in her clothing instead of wearing, that $80 or $90 outfit of t-shirt and man's swimming trunks that she was wearing. That's what she had on. You know what I mean? It was like, and it cost $90 for something that she'll never wear again, So anyway, the scripture, and let's tie it up.
Yeah.
So, so the wars come from inside. They come from inside. When we don't realize that we have separate wars going on, and we try to make our wars together. I try to make my war her war. She tries to make her war my war, And so as we've grown and as we are growing, we began to realize, no, there's separate wars, so I don't want to dig too deep into her scenario with her father, her biological father, but I do understand it. So I'm very, very gentle with that because she has a war that's on the inside of her dealing with her biological father, and how much of that has come to a conclusion is still unknown to me. But I know that the results of that relationship, now we're talking about a full life of relationship and non-relationship, and then the death of him, and then the absence of a relationship. So all of those things have happened. And so now mine, full life of relationship, non-relationship for the most part, then relationship, then non-relationship, then the absence of relationship, but he has a relationship with others that surround me, just not me. So we have two different wars going on, and there's this catalytic that's in the middle. There's a spark that's in the catalyst that's in the middle. There's a spark that continues to ignite the fire every so often. This is essential of packing the bag, putting it into the attic, and then you take a trip and you're like, oh man, it hits me. It hits her. It hits us, because there is this one congruent thing that continuously happens, right? So that's that part. Now let me get to the other scripture. I read 6. Let me get to 7. So here, this is the piece I wanted to share. Verse 7 says, "Submit yourselves therefore to God, resist the devil, and he will flee from you." All right. So, and I have to get another scripture for you all. Now, I'm not calling anybody the devil, so I just want you all. I want to put that out there. I'm not calling anybody the devil. But here's the thing, the devil is in the details, right? And what I mean by that is that the emotional impact or implication of our separate wars. And that's not even to say whatever type of war that he may have or whatever type of war that the other people may have. Everyone's dealing with their own types of wars, and the devil is in the detail, but she doesn't know all my details. I don't know all her details. I don't know all his details. I don't know all their details. And that's where the devil is. So the only way you can get the devil out is to get down to the details. So what does that mean? It means that everyone's got to pack the same bag. As long as you all have, in the relationship, as long as you all have separate bags, then you're never going to know what truly is in the other person's bag. You have no idea what they're going through. You have no idea what their situation is. They could be without deodorant. They could be without underwear. And they're miserable. And they just don't want to tell you. They don't want to tell you that their toothbrush has been in there for the last 9 months because they couldn't afford a new one. I'm trying to make it basic, so I hope you all understand that out there, whoever listens to this.
It's those who have ears, let them hear. Is that what is that the word?
Yeah, he who have ears, let him hear what the Spirit saith unto the churches.
Listen, this is it, and this is why empathy. Thank God this is like one of your. So this is like one of your strong suits, and it's a skill, people. Some people can be predisposed to it. The brother explained like how he became so predisposed to being able to be empathetic to others' plights, etc. But so that's what I hear. I hear a lot of empathy. I hear a lot of understanding. I was thinking about that today. And then acceptance, because you can have empathy and you can have understanding and choose not to accept. And so that I think leads to, I said, I wrote in my notes, leads to madness. And of course it was early in the morning, so I was being really melodramatic, but it leads to discomfort. It leads to things steadily coming up if you don't choose to accept that a person can have these things going on and they have to move at their own pace as well. So now if you want to be clicking on all cylinders, you got to add patience to it, because just because you're able or ready to face certain things doesn't mean the other person is ready to face it. This is some really deep stuff. But like this is a super deep dive, brother, into relationships. I've learned so much. I've written down. So listen, you said forgive. You forgave him, you forgave yourself, and then you forgave others. And let go. But there was still a piece left in that bag.
Okay, I want to get to that.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, let's go. Yeah, please.
Okay, so now here's some more scriptures for you to put in the notes, if you don't mind. This is going to be out of the book of Matthew. So in the notes, y'all are going to look up Matthew chapter 12. 12 and 43. To 45. Okay, so now you need this one with James 4 and 7. You're going to need this. And this is going to help. Hopefully this will help some of you all frame the picture of what Mike and I are talking about. Okay, so just remember before, resist the devil and he will flee from you. All right, so that's what we're talking about. And remember, the devil. What I was saying is the devil is not the people. The devil is not the people. The devil is in the details. It is the emotions. It is the dispensation of pain, of sorrow. It's all of those. It's all of those things that make a soul sour. All right. It's all of those things that make a soul sour. Right. So now listen to this, and I want you to think about, if you resist the devil, he will flee from you. So when you're going through your hard times, especially in your relationships, you and your wife, you're sitting there and y'all are going at it, bop, 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 and nobody can get the high ground, because every time someone gets the high ground, somebody comes with the axe and they chop them down, right? You're like, you come down here to my level, all right, and now you all are, you're at war again with each other, and it's because you didn't realize you were at war inside of yourself. If you get out of war in yourself, you'll have more patience, you'll have more peace, and you'll be able to do like Jesus said, and you'll be able to look at the winds, you'll be able to look at the storm, and you'll be able to say, peace, be still. And the winds of the world, the winds of your trouble, the storm of your life will cease to affect you. And that's the key. It will cease to affect you. It does not mean that the storm is gone from off the planet. It means that it ceases to affect you. It ceases to cause you pain. It ceases to cause you turmoil. It ceases to cause you frustration. It ceases to cause you sadness. It ceases to cause you a disruption in your spirit. You gain a peace that passes understanding. And all those that are around you will not understand, why are you so peaceful? And just them being curious about that, if you allow that to affect you, it'll bring your storm back. Because just as simple as that, they can strike up a conversation to destroy your peace. Oh, why are you not arguing with me? You don't got nothing to say? That's because you don't care. You don't care about nothing but yourself. And boom, somebody's back in the storm.
Could be. Could be. But yeah. Could be. Yeah.
Could be. All right. So here's the scripture, right? Matthew chapter 12, verse 43. So when the unclean spirit is gone out of a man, he walketh through dry places, seeking rest, and findeth none. So remember, resist the devil and he will flee from you. That's the unclean spirit. And when the unclean spirit is gone, so now the devil's gone. Mm-hmm. You feel good about it. You got peace. You're walking around happy. Y'all know about that. When you say your prayer or something happened to you, you're like, oh, today is a good day. The sun is perfect. Yeah. Even Ice Cube made a song about that. Today was a good day, right? And then part 2, it was not a good day. I don't know what's going on, man.
I want to do it. I don't know what you got, the balloons popping up, but it was right on time. Listen, this is AI. AI is taking over. We're not doing anything. This is AI.
Yeah, but go thumbs ahead. Up and stuff. All right, so now let's read verse 44, right? All right, so remember, we're talking about the unclean spirit. We're talking about the devil that's in the details. Then he saith, this is the unclean spirit, the devil in the details. Then he saith, I will return into my house from whence I came out. So now the devil that's in the details is going back to that house. And when he is come, he findeth it empty, swept, and garnished. Mm-hmm. All right. So this is the equivalent of you now taking a trip and opening up that suitcase and you find that garment that was left there and you try to reintroduce it into your life and it causes you pain. Why does it cause you so much pain then? It's not because it's the same pain. It's not the same pain because you resisted that pain. If it fled from you, you got solace, you got peace. It's not the same pain, but many of us confuse it with the same pain and we attempt to solve the same issue. But that issue, if you solved it, if you forgave yourself, if you forgave them, if you forgave others, if you let it go, it's not the same thing. And so when we attempt to do the same thing, that cycle again, when we attempt to do that, it does not work. Here's the reason why it doesn't work. Verse 45, then goeth he and taketh with himself 7 other spirits more wicked than himself, and they enter in and dwell there. And the last state of that man is worse than the first.
Mm-hmm.
So what ends up happening, there's a little more to that, but I'm stopped there. What ends up happening is you end up with more confusion. It's new because it's compounded because it has festered. You didn't deal with all of it. There was a piece of it that you left. You thought you had it all because when it became peaceful, you were like, oh, I feel good. Sometimes you ever felt a knot inside your stomach, even when you feel good, and you're like, nah, I'm going to be all right. And you push through that knot and you leave that conflict on the inside. You push through it just so that you can just continue to revel in the goodness of it. But you haven't gotten rid of all of it. And when it comes back, it has greater impact on you than it did in the beginning. And it has the power to knock you off of your feet. And that's because that's all internal. That's internal. From whence come you wars? Come they not hence?
Listen, this is huge. I wish as many people that could listen, guys. This is huge. This is a lot of the reasoning as to why you can go and you can push through it, like the brother said, and we put it into our workplace, or I'm on my work, or my kids. You turn away from it, and then all of a sudden, something similar happens, whatever that may be, and it triggers, and it's worse. All of a sudden, these anxiety attacks are popping up. All of a sudden, these lack of sleep. You're waking up 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. You can't, in your mind, you can't figure out why. Like, because you went to sleep, everything was fine, but it's popping back up. This is big. It starts with yourself. It starts with actually dealing. Like, you got to face, and this is, in NLP, they would call it resistance. They would say this is resistance that and what's the Borg in Star Trek said resistance is futile. I started saying resistance is the way, and I'm sure I got it from one of those sci-fi movies as well. I'm not sure, but resistance is the way. This thing that you're getting away from, and we find so many different ways of how to get rid of it. We'll say, oh, we let go. Oh yeah, just let go. Finished reading the book, Letting Go, and I remember while I'm listening, while I was at Audible, and I'm listening to it, I'm just like, oh, you just make it. Just let go, huh? You know what I mean? And then my question was like, so what's the difference between letting go and you said suppression? I don't know. So repression, suppression, either way, suppressing those memories, right? Like, what's the difference? We got to come to grips with that. And that is that because you want to fully deal with this thing. You want to be fully aligned within yourself and understanding that this thing is being dealt with. Did you took those shorts out, and you might go double check it. It might, they call it in NLP, we call it making sure you're in alignment, and you do a check. You go back and you do a check. You want to make sure to check that suitcase to make sure that you actually got that for the same, and that for the use of the same metaphor, got those dirty shorts out of there.
Yeah, you got me. You got something stirring me up. All right. So here's another one let's give this one to the people also. So this one's going to be out of 1 Peter, 1 Peter chapter 5. Let's say we're going to go verse 6. And we're going to go down to verse 10. I'm not going to read all these, y'all. So you just you have to go back and do your own little Bible study. If you actually want me to help you out with some of that Bible study, then you put it in the chat. That's all. Just put it in the chat. And either Mike or myself or somebody will read it and we'll answer it. But if you don't put it in the chat, then
brother, say it again. It's First Peter
chapter 5. Chapter 5,
okay.
Verse 6 through 10.
All right, go ahead.
So I'm just going to give you a piece of it. So, verse 6, humble yourselves, therefore, under the mighty hand of God, that he may exalt you in due time. Verse 7, casting all your care upon him, for he careth for you. All right. Be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary, the devil, as a roaring lion, walketh about seeking whom he may devour. Whom resist steadfast in the faith, knowing that the same afflictions are accomplished in your brethren that are in the world. So, the reason why, I got to read this last part. But the God of all grace, who have called us unto his eternal glory by Christ Jesus, after that ye have suffered a while, make you perfect, establish, strengthen, settle you. There's another piece that you probably need. That's hold on one moment. Whole thing with the resistance. So this whole thing with the resistance, right? The, in that scripture, we're learning something different. It's like, okay, it's not just resist, it's like casting your care upon the Lord. So this is the whole saying between let go and let God is not just to say, okay, God's going to deal with it, but it is a way of handling it. God has this way of when things enter inside of you, he will begin to speak with you, a still small voice. He'll give you the answers. Most of us are not listening to any of it. We don't listen to it. Most of us, we avoid listening to the right thing. So it's like, have you ever gotten a thought to forgive somebody and said, they get on my last nerve?
This morning. This morning. Go ahead, brother.
No,
my voice, and my voice is loud. It's loud because I'm very in tune. I'm very in tune with myself. So it's loud. It's saying, hey, you need to do this. And I'm, that other part is like, hey, listen, hey, you got it. But go ahead, brother. I'm just being honest.
Yeah. That's perfect. That's perfect. Mm-hmm. That's the same voice that people get when it says, hey, you need to unpack everything out of your bag right now. Mm-hmm. No, I'll do it tomorrow. It's the same voice. It's the same voice. And the reason why that stuff is festering inside of that suitcase is because when we heard it, we decided, no, I'm tired. I've been on the plane all day long. I started early this morning. I'm not going to unpack it now. The only thing I really need out of there is I need my deodorant and my toothbrush. I'm leaving everything else. And then it gets left for days. So it's the exact same thing. You get that, and it's like a conscience that comes about you and says, hey, listen, you need to talk with your wife. No, I ain't talking with her. She don't even want to talk with me. Remember what happened last time? The last time I talked to seven others have entered into you. And they're telling you, don't you talk to her. Remember last time. She don't want to talk to you because she always got something negative to say. If you talk with her, you're not going to get none tonight. There's not going to be any sex. You're not going to have any sex. You're going to go without sex for a month. Don't you talk with her. Oh man, you know how this is she's just going to go out and spend money. That's what she's going to do. Oh, I'm going to walk out the house. And all of these, the voices, the whispers start to come to you. The whispers start coming. When the whispers get there and we start to get carried away by the whispers, we're carried away. And we are not casting our affection on the Lord, because if we're casting it on him, we say, no, Lord, you handle it. The Lord said, oh, you want me to handle it? Okay, this is what you need to do. Go talk to your wife. You say you trust them.
Brother, this is so powerful. Moments before we got on this call, I got a text message, and it was a business acquaintance. I'm just like, oh, a million things ran through my head. Like, this has happened. This is happening. And so I say, you know what? Through a lot of work, one voice said, you need to call this guy back and find out what's going on. but but between that, so we had said that we get on, and within 20 minutes, I said, man, listen, before I get on the call with the brother, I'm going to have this phone. Before I get on this live, I'm gonna go make this phone call. And I went in there and I asked the Lord, hey, Lord, just give me peace as I make this phone call. Didn't even go the way that I thought it was gonna go. Totally different phone call. Glad I made it. Totally, and I can imagine the same thing happening with your significant other. Totally different conversation, because it can't be as bad as we can make it out to be. One part of one voice probably even said, "She gonna shoot me." She might not never had a gun, don't own a gun or nothing, but in your mind, you say, "Man, this lady is gonna kill me." That's where kill me. That's where our mind will take these different things. You've already died 1,000 deaths before you even had the conversation.
Yeah.
And this is in almost every relationship. Anytime your mind, God, the Spirit, tells you to do something, and then you just got that little piece because that little resistance to it. Your mind, wait, this is why you waking up early in the morning, or against your will. Not if you're getting up and going to the gym. I'm saying if you're getting up you go to bed at 9, there's no rest for the wicked. You getting up in the middle of the night, and you just can't, because you don't want to have these, and we allow these things to fester, just like them shorts. And when you allow those things to fester, so you fighting your war, your significant other, and tell me if I'm wrong, brother, she's fighting her war. So now that these things are going unsaid, unspoken, undealt with, and then this thing turns into something huge. 5 to 10 years later, if something happens, you be like, I don't even know how this started, because it made absolutely no sense. Ask me how I know.
Yeah, do you want to go there?
We're definitely gonna get into it, man, because I think these are awesome conversations to be had. Brother, you on your vacation? I want you to get to it. And spend some time.
And there's no rest for the weary, right?
Yeah, rest for the weary. Excuse me. Yeah.
So let me give them this little piece.
Please.
If I could do it all over again, I would handle everything as the Lord showed me the first time. With my relationships, all of them, every single one, I would have had that tough conversation. Look, I can feel that thing coming up. I would have done it then. All I know, I don't know who I would be today. I don't know where I would be today. All I know is that if I just listen, because I got good ears. And so, and when people say, oh, I can't hear them, shut up. Because that is those whispers telling you can't hear. You believe what you believe. So he that believe he can hear and he that believe he can't hear, both are right. They both are right. So either you believe you can hear them, and I don't care if you can't hear them, but you believe that you can hear them, then at that moment you will start to hear them. But you got to believe. It's got to be real. Got to be real. Man, take the time to have this conversation, y'all. Take the time to have the conversation, because I don't know what I would be able to do differently other than just do what the Lord said do when he said do it.
I'm gonna tell you what, and I'm gonna end it here because you just brought something up that came to mind. We had a conversation about a week ago or so, and then the brother knows me and the word discipline, how I'm feeling, how I'm starting to go down that track. And then we went from discipline and we went to obedient. And we're like, okay, maybe that's obedient is the word. And I said, I thought on it again, and it just came to me. I was listening to someone, and then it came to honor. I was like, oh, I like that. So you can start off in the discipline of being able to have those conversations, and then go to the obedience. I'm just going to be obedient to the word. And then it's just, you know what? I'm just going to honor the word. And that just to me, it just makes it just that much simpler and easier if I'm just honoring the word that's given to me. Man, all right, I'm done. Guys,
Yeah.
I'm gonna let the brother go. Because we can be on here talking forever. And then all of a sudden I'm gonna get a text message from another 561 number that's on his account saying, "What are you done took my husband hostage during our vacations." give the wife lots of love from me, man, and enjoy you and her's time over there. And as always, brother, I definitely appreciate you just gaining all these different insights, because this was the perfect conversation to have at the perfect time, brother. So I appreciate you.
Yeah, man. I appreciate. You know she loves you, man. God Almighty,
Yeah,
man.
yeah,
My
I love
wife
it to death.
loves some Michaeldseville. Goodness, she does. She does. Sometimes I'm like, hold on, that's my friend. You better. I ain't got many friends, so don't you be trying. No, no. Go get your own friends.
Knowing that, I don't want to impinge on a relationship because I know she loves her husband, and I'm keeping that time. I'm cutting into the time. I'm a good friend because I know when to quit. I know when to go home. So
You're
let me.
funny, man. I love it. I love it. You're good.
so
You're a
I'm gonna
good
let you go,
man.
man.
Very good man.
I
Whoever's
appreciate
out
you,
there,
brother.
whoever's the right lady that's out there, y'all better you better treat my brother right.
Say your prayer for her too, because I like you. I know I'm a challenge too as well. So man, appreciate you all. Hey guys, check in, put the stuff in the notes. A lot of stuff in there, and if you want to unpack it, if you just want to unpack some of this stuff, the best way to do it is ask a question. And I heard someone the other day say, "Oh, the questions. I'm scared to ask these different questions." Listen, the simplest questions are the best questions. They're the best questions because so many people will gain insight from it. So many people will be. It'll help out so many people. So put your questions down there. I'm gonna let the brother get to his finish his vacation. Until then, I'll see you. We'll see you next week, man. We love you. Peace.
I love you. Peace.